Hi all and Happy New Year. Rob here from Way Out West. Our 2025 program starts on Sunday the 2nd of Feb. The Honey Badgers from South Australia will be bringing their big band Jumping Blues to WOW. We saw the band at last year's Echuca Blues Festival and we all agreed that they had to play at the club. Three saxophones front a multi-talented six-piece band and the guys will be sure to get you in a party mood. So sit back and enjoy the interview, and please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, as well as checking out our gig guide. We have a lot of stuff locked in already, and as always, rock on, my friends. So, Nigel, can you tell us about the Honey Badgers? Where did the name come from, and when did the band start up?
The band started in about 2016, and the name was a bit of a gag, actually, Rob. It was our original singer, Benny, and I used to go to jams locally in Adelaide a fair bit, and it was Benny's idea that we're going to create this band. We'll call it the Honey Badgers, and it's just because the Honey Badgers don't care. We'll go out and play things, and hopefully people will like it, and have a bit of that sort of laissez-faire attitude, I guess, but as things progressed, we became a little bit less laissez-faire and a little bit more serious about the music. But the name obviously stuck, and yeah, that's kind of where it came from. And yeah, we've had a few staff changes over the year. Over the years, different people have come and gone. So yeah, it's been what's that? 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll go to you, Tim. Who's in the band apart from you three fine gentlemen, and what do they play?
Well, we've got Nick Southgate is a new drummer. He's joined the band after we very tragically and sadly lost Pete, who was one of the founding members last year. So that was a pretty poignant moment for the band. But Nick's joined us and has started to settle in. We've got Peter Nixon, the professor, on bass. So he starts a lot of the stuff and is very much the musical intellect of the band. And on guitar, obviously, Peter Hollow is a new frontman after Benny Brown went plumbing in a big way. And yeah, he does toilets now.
He does toilets now. That's his thing.
So, and then in the horn section, obviously, we've got Nigel on tenor sax, and Gio Heathcote plays baritone sax and tenor sax and harmonica. And I play alto and mainly trumpet.
Yeah, cool. So over to you, Pete. How would you describe the band's sound?
Um, well, I think the definition that we work off of that Nigel, I guess you were the one that coined this, was songs rooted in the blues with horns. Would that be a good description, Nigel? A good way to sum it up?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we venture far and wide, I guess, but yeah, that's generally what we are. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
What
yeah, because
about
I think yeah, just the nature of having a horn section is something that's always been really exciting, and there's so many different directions we can go in. So we are largely, I guess we could say, we do lean pretty heavily on the blues, but we go into funky directions. There's R&B, there's soul, there's yeah, lots of stuff.
um, is there a collective name for a group of guys playing saxophone like you are?
Oh, what's the rating on this program, Rob?
Well, it's R-rated.
Oh, I'd a rabble maybe. Maybe that'd be a good yeah. Yeah. Always looking for the bar, something like that. Yeah.
Murder? No, that's crows.
That's crows. What about, I believe you guys won the South Australian Blues Challenge in 2022, went to Memphis, represented Australia and your own state. How
Yes, we did.
incredible an experience was that for you guys? What did you do over there, apart from the challenge, of course?
Peter, you want to talk through that one?
Um, yeah, sure. It was an amazing experience. It was very stressful. I can certainly speak for myself in that regard, but so what happened was we got to represent the Adelaide Roots and Blues Association over in Memphis for the International Blues Challenge. And by doing so, we got an opportunity to play to begin with, to play a showcase over in Memphis where we played a full set for everybody. And then we actually got into the heats. So we played two quarterfinal performances, and the judges chose us to go ahead into the semifinals, and that was a pretty amazing surprise, but obviously something we were very grateful for. And then after we played in our semi-final performance, we just gave it everything we had, believing probably pretty strongly that was about as good as it was going to get. So we might as well just ride it until the wheels fall off. And surprisingly, the wheels didn't fall off, and they selected us for the finals, and we got to play at the Orpheum Theatre and compete with the other six or the other five bands that were chosen. So it was amazing.
That's a beautiful theatre too, isn't it? Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely beautiful, yeah. Um, Whoever wants to answer this one, go for it. In 2024, you released Shaken, which had fantastic success on the charts. Tell us about that album. Are they originals or is it a mix of covers or?
Yeah, it's an entirely original record. It was recorded over a really long period of about 3 years because Benny stepped out of the band. We had some stuff done early on. Then Peter, our original drummer, got really sick and stepped out. We had Matt Carson step in on drums for a period. Then Peter came back, and we went to Memphis, as Peter Holly just talked about. And then we finished the record and got it out eventually. And yeah, we were really pleased that it charted as well as it did. It sat and it just went back in again, where we fell out of the Roots and Blues charts after I think 9 months in there. Had a month out, but it's gone back in at number 32 or something, I think.
Wow.
Recently or somewhere around there. So I was quite surprised that it went back up again. So, but that does happen from what I can see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it made number 1 in April. We also won the Adelaide Roots and Blues Association Album of the Year this year. And the SA Music Awards, Blues and Roots People's Choice Award as well. So yeah, the record really spurred on a bit of that activity, I think. It was really well received. It's had a couple of good reviews locally and internationally, and there's a couple of US reviews that were really positive. So yeah, the pressure's on, I guess, to record a follow-up, which we started, and get it out there. So we've also got a live EP in the works. We recorded a gig about 3 or 4 months ago, and had video as well for that gig, and we've been mixing that up. So we're just going to bring out a 6 or 7 track live EP, because the tracks came out really well at that gig. We played really well, which is great if you're going to put out a record. But yeah, that's kind of what's happened with the album. The next one, we're hoping, it's we're hoping it doesn't take 3 years, Rob, but it should be out, this year at some stage. Yeah.
You've been to the southern states, mate. All the good things are slow cooked.
That's right. Yeah, including us.
Yeah. Tim, just jumping back to Memphis, did you get to go to Stax?
We did. I got the red hat. I've got a Memphis Grizzlies hat over there, and also I think it's a Chicago Bulls hat. So I got a few hats, and we went to Stax, and look, that was really affirming to see those horns in the Stax Museum. And just, like I'm a music teacher, I'm an instrumental teacher, and sometimes you're searching for that place for the brass and the woodwind, in contemporary music. And it was just it was fantastic to see those 3 horns in the glass cases and know that they've added to that the sound that came out of Stax. It was and then that's given us, the horn section, a lot of impetus to work hard together to produce the music that we're doing. And just quick credit to Nigel and Peter Nixon, or Mr. Nixon as I like to call him, who've been doing most of the recording, all of the recording at Mr. Nixon's house. So we're not in a studio per se, so Felicity sticks to the kitchen and Peter has the rest of the house to run the horns into the other room, or real grassroots album. I would, like all the mixing, all the mastering by Mr. Nixon and Nigel Bourne. So just real, credit to those guys and their time and effort, because some of the other members of the band just stroll in when it's time to stand behind the microphone. So, just want to get that in.
I agree with you, mate. I've listened to the album and it's fantastic production.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. No, I had another question there. Oh, yeah. When I was at Stax, I stood for about 20 minutes in front of Booker T's Hammond organ, just staring at it.
Yeah.
It's definitely I don't think I came back from Memphis the same. And we did New Orleans a few of us afterwards as well. But to stand in Stax, I mean, you walk past, like, there's a tape machine there that they recorded Mr. Pitiful on, right there in front of you. And I had the same experience, Rob, in front of that organ. And there's Duck Dunn's bass and Steve Propper's guitar, and I just stood in that studio and I was just in awe. You can't help but not be in awe when you've grown up with that being a horn player and that Memphis horns kind of soul. It's where that music came from. So all the soul came out of Stax and the jazz came out of New Orleans. So to do both in one trip for me was just, I didn't come back the same person. It had a profound effect on me as a musician. Absolutely profound. Yeah.
I've got another gentleman to admit. Nick.
Nick's arrived.
Yes.
Picture of Nick.
While we're still talking about Stax, was anyone tempted to go and sit in the Cadillac? Isaac Hayes' car there?
I think the security would have been onto you pretty quickly, but it's the safe in the back was kind of cool, and all of the shag pile carpet. It was a pretty impressive thing. Yeah,
there might have been a bit of shagging going on in there too.
Rob, one of my favourite experiences from Memphis was when we got in the Uber, Peter Allen and Peter Hollow and myself, and we caught this Uber with a rather large African-American woman drove us out into the suburbs to go to a music shop to find a power source for Peter Hollow's pedal. And when we got there, we had to buzz in through the door. They checked us out to make sure we weren't going to rob the place. And then they buzzed us in, and it was very Blues Brothers. There was no blind man behind the counter, but it was fantastic just to experience that culture and, see America for what it really is.
Yeah.
So many people over there, normal people that love music, and that was refreshing for me. You get the Hollywood version of America driven down our throats. It was the people there, they were all there to see some great music, and that was really fantastic.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing that a few people, I've been to Memphis a few times, and I spoke to a young African-American in a barber shop once. He in his 20s, maybe, a really cool guy. And he wanted to know why would an Australian travel that far to go to Memphis? And I said, well, it's really important to people like us. This is where the blues and soul came from. I was trying to re-educate him, and he lived there, and he wasn't into that music at all, which is a bit of a shame.
Well, we took Peter Hollow to the barber in downtown Memphis, and he got a shave before the final. And the barber said he told us he lived across the road from Elvis, but that can't be true. Yeah. That's what he said, wasn't it, Peter?
Yeah.
Did you get the alcohol on the back of the neck and get stung really bad with that? He put rubbing alcohol on the back of my neck when he'd finished it. It certainly wakes you up.
Actually, I didn't, and by the sounds of it, I'm really happy I didn't, because that would have been really unpleasant. But,
how you going, Nick? Can you hear us?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You've unmuted.
I'm coming to you for what's that?
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Sorry, I'm so late, but I was, working out this whole Zoom thing. But I got there, and I'm coming to you from my dungeon in my house.
You'll be very happy to know that the guys have all had nice words for you.
Oh, well, thank you. It's good I could avoid that. You could say that without, feeling you needed to. But I'm very happy to be part of it all, of course, and looking forward to a cracker 2025.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Nigel, I'll just jump back to you for a sec. When did you start playing tenor sax, and who were some of your early influences?
I've sort of had a late return to the instrument. I played in my 20s initially, and I came back to saxophone and music in general when I was about 35, I think. So I've been back at it, just over 20 years. And that was because I had a break because I had young kids and stuff, and sort of drifted away from music a bit. But yeah, by far, I think as far as all that, growing up in the 80s, the saxophone was really prevalent in modern music in the 80s, and that had a big effect on me initially. But then I discovered players like Stanley Turrentine, who's kind of a crossover jazz but primarily blues sax player. And what he does for me is his tone and all those sorts of things. So he'd be my number one sort of inspiration as a sax player is Stanley. If you haven't heard his stuff, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's just a great player, really heavily blues influenced, but a great jazz capable player as well.
Tim's writing it down. Nothing to do with wanting to be a bit of a favourite with the ladies then, Nige? The saxophone? Hey?
Well, it does help. It does help,
It always helps to blow your own horn, mate.
Oh, well, I think I would if I could, but, I'd have to take out a couple of ribs.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
We, many years ago, we had Big Jay McNeely at the club.
Oh, fantastic.
Not long before he was a very sick man, and he was pretty much in a wheelchair, but he was immaculately dressed in the white suit. It was at our old venue, and he had a meal, and then he came to the doors into the room and got out of the wheelchair and honking through the crowd. And I just remember him sitting down on stage and going, "We're going to have fun, children." It was just fantastic. Yeah. And he was still blowing that horn pretty good.
I had a similar experience. I saw Fred Wesley and his band at Blues Fest, and they came out, and there was like 5,000 people there maybe at that gig initially, and they were sitting on stools with the lights down just waiting for the gig to start. And they brought the house lights up to start the show, and they all stood up and just went bang at a rate of knots. And that tent was full of, probably had 20,000 people into it by the time their gig was in, three songs in. I'd never seen anything like it. There's these three dudes that you would think were, the three horn players out front plus the rhythm section. They were all older fellas, but the three guys out front were probably well in their 70s, maybe 80s. And they just blew the roof off that place. Like blew the roof off of it.
It's amazing. Pete, how long have you been playing guitar?
I guess I've been playing guitar for coming up on 20 years now. Wow, I'm getting old. I'm not really into. Yeah, sorry.
You must have started when you were 5, having a look at you.
I'm just beginning to think, I should be better than I am now. Now coming up on 20 years now, I guess. I started getting really into it probably in year 9 of high school. That was probably when I started getting serious about it.
Yeah, and I really love your vocals too. I'm going to talk about Echuca Blues Festival shortly, but your vocals are really great. You carry them off really well. And we better throw a question at the latecomer, Nick. So how long have you been on the pots and pans, mate?
The pots and pans. Well, I guess you say 20, Pete. I'm about 40 probably. I started when I was about 16, but I mean I wasn't really serious until I guess in my 20s, and I ended up doing the jazz course at Adelaide Uni back in the early 90s, and I guess I've been sort of semi-professional since then. But always the way with musicians is that you've got to go where the work is, and even though it was sort of jazz that I'd originally wanted to be better at, I realised pretty quickly that I wasn't, really a natural jazz player. So, I went back to pretty much playing the cover band scene for, the last 30 years. And I guess recently I've come to the realisation that, it wasn't really, fulfilling me all that much. In the end, it was a means to, make money and everything, and I guess now that I'm at a point where I don't have to rely on that as much, I'm far more happy doing this sort of original thing and trying to be a bit more creative with the whole process. So
and Tim, what's the blues and rhythm roots scene like in South Australia?
Well, we're predominantly supported by the Semaphore Workers Club, which is the home of the Adelaide Blues and Roots Association, which in America, they were quite surprised that the Blues and Roots Association would also be the home of the South Australia Communist Party. So we are all suspected of being members of the Communist Party now, and probably expecting a visit from the CIA or the Australian Police or something like that.
That is absolutely true. They were absolutely horrified.
They were
just
gobsmacked. Well, yeah, it's pretty normal, but
Yeah.
Mm.
I hope you didn't tell them you were an atheist as well. They would have thrown you right out.
yeah. So, but there's a few other good venues in SA. The Murray Delta Juke Joint is a great place supporting blues and roots music in the city. Memphis Slims. There's a couple of good spots. There's a few jams around, blues jams, the Out North Jam, and then the one at the Gov. Do you guys think of anything else that's really ticking along?
Oh, you mentioned Arbor, and that is, I think there's about 300 odd members in the Adelaide Roots and Blues Association. So they're always putting on gigs at places like the Wheat Sheaf, and those sorts of more sort of alternative.
The Port Noarlunga Blues Festival. Lefties Club at Whyalla.
Yeah.
Is that coming up shortly?
Life Saving Club and that sort of thing as well, I guess.
Yeah.
That Port, did you say Port?
Noarlunga.
Is that coming up shortly, or has it just been?
Just been.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting how, like a lot of us people that have no ability, but as we've got older, we wanted to keep our music going. So there's lots of community clubs that have just all banded together, volunteers, and, let's keep it going. Melbourne Blues Appreciation Society. There's 3 or 4 clubs around Melbourne that are all doing something. So
the Port Noarlunga Bowls Club looks after us regularly, hosting us down there for shows. So they've been really supportive of the blues and roots in Adelaide the last couple of years as well.
Yeah. It's interesting talking about blues people. The clubs really love blues people because they tend to drink a lot. Not so much the jazz people who buy one bottle of red wine and sit there for the next 4 hours.
Oh, the rock and roll dancers are worse. They just bring their own water.
Oh, yeah, just bring
a bottle. Gotta love that.
Venues love that. They ride it.
Yeah, they love them though.
Yeah, you can have 300 people in the room, and the bar hasn't made any money at all. When I was at Echuca Blues Festival last year, I got a tap on the shoulder, Nigel, by your good self, saying, introducing yourself. And I thought, here we go, another band after a gig. I didn't mean that to come out like that, but we get a lot of inquiries. And
I'm sure you do.
And then you said, come around to the America. Man, I am so happy I did, because that was one of the highlights of the whole thing. I had my vice president with me, my wife, and my ex-brother-in-law, Jimmy McFarlane. There was a funny story about that. He's a Scottish guy, divorced his wife, and he said, well, you divorced Linda, but you're not fucking divorcing me, and we've been friends. But I said to everyone, I turned around and said, they've got Greater Way Out West, and all went, you bet. So it was just fantastic to see you. And there was quite a few other people in the crowd from Way Out West too who said,
great.
Got to get the honey badges.
It's really good to hear. I mean, it was just by chance, to be honest, because I popped in there to see Frank Sultana, who we've done a fair bit of work with after being in Memphis with him, and I just texted him and said, I'm down seeing Slats and Ben Wicks in whatever incarnation of band that they were at Echuca. I can't remember what they were called. Might have been their Slats of Palooza thing. I think they were just slaying that place. They are fantastic. I'm so glad I saw them. But that's a little side story. And I just, because I did speak to Ben and said, look, do you know who runs the Way Out West sort of gig? And he said, this is on offline. Yeah, that's Rob and blah, blah, blah. And I did have your contact details. And I just happened to say to him, is the guy from Way Out West here? And he turned around and said, that's him right there. Oh, shit, okay. So off they go. And I think I just grabbed you on the way out the door. So I'm not surprised you said, well, who's this bloody Johnny come lately hitting out for a show? So, yeah, I'm so glad you did come along. And it's just so great to hear that you enjoyed the show, because we froze our asses off, but we had a great time.
Yeah, well, what I can see when I see you guys on stage, all incredible musicians, but the way you enjoy yourself so much just makes it infectious for everyone in the crowd as well. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just a gig; it's a show, and it's fantastic. It really is fantastic. Yeah.
I think that's fundamental to what the bottom line for the band is. We've all got to be enjoying ourselves, and we're all adamant that we want the music to sound good.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where we're trying to, settle the pendulum, is somewhere between having a great time and playing a great show, And I've always been, adamant that if you can have a good time on stage, that gives the audience permission to have a good time as well,
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah, I think you look at those great bands and great shows. They're all, there's nothing worse than going to a show when they're just dialing it in here. And Tim's right. It is a real balancing act. There's a lot of times we go, oh shit, I missed that entry there. I missed that line. Oh, that's us. Quick.
That's why we're laughing.
That's right. We know. Yeah. Well.
The awkward laugh.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I had something to say there. Make sure you bring plenty of merch with you too, if you can, because we're a great club for selling merch. So
yes, we do have merch. We've got T-shirts, we've got CDs. We were hoping to get the live one done. I'm not sure how we're going to go. We'll see how we go. See if I should be able to get artwork done. I'm not sure if I'll get them back from the mastering place yet, but we've got a couple of tracks still to go. But we'll do our best. We'll definitely have our Shaken CD, of course, and we've got plenty of T-shirts to bring. So they're becoming quite a hot property. The Badger shirts, they're popping up all over the place. I saw Frank had one on Nashville last week, which is great. Yeah,
very comfortable.
Available for hire after the gig, aren't you, Nick?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
per hour.
Yeah. Oh geez, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, what other gigs have you got round? You've got another gig up in the Goldfields, I think, from what.
Yeah, that was also from Echuca, the lady that runs the Goldfields Club in Dunolly. There, Sue is her name. She reached out just over our Facebook page and said, "I see you coming to Victoria looking for a venue. Would you consider playing a show with us?" And we, it's not an area I would have thought about initially, but when she sort of did the rundown of what they do there, we went, "Well, why wouldn't we do that?"
Yeah.
She's seen us in Echuca. She really likes us. Reckons we'll go over well, and they're going to put us up for the night locally in the pub. And sure, that sounds okay. So we're into it. So
you're driving over, so that's not far off the track anyway, is it?
Yeah, so that sort of works. That it's a quick squirt from there down to you guys on the Sunday. So it's only going to be an hour and a half or so drive. So it all worked out really well when we put it together and went, well, that sounds okay. Let's do that. So and we were also really big on doing regional stuff as well. Like we did a lot of regional stuff. Just last year we went to places like Whyalla. We've played down south in Goora a couple of times.
Port Lincoln,
Tim's hometown, which did help fill the room just quietly. We ended up getting 300 people at that gig, which was fantastic, and we had a great time. Regional stuff for us is really important. It's the people that a lot of people that do come to those shows are based in regional areas, and they're just screaming out for live music, and you just generally have a good time when you put the effort in to go to some of those places. So
it's true. Way out west, I always sort of take the time if I don't, because I recognise so many people, because a lot of us are local, but amazing if you go up and you talk to someone, welcome to the club, and where do you come from? And they're going, it took us 3 hours to get here or whatever, Geez, And Tim, if you're from Port Lincoln, man, you must be a millionaire with your tuna fishing stuff, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I've got abalone license, prawn license, and tuna quota, and just basically play music for fun,
Yes.
What was that gold medal weightlifting guy?
Dean Lucan, yeah. I lift him for breakfast.
Well, he's not that big anymore, is he?
Oh, no, probably not. But there's two of them around. We've got Mackivy Diva there. You would have heard of Mackivy.
Oh, yes.
There's a bronze statue of Mackivy Diva.
I was going to say, isn't that all dead?
Yeah.
You've seen Star Wars. They put him into the vat, just like that.
Right.
That was a horse.
Yeah.
They've cloned him.
Actually, pretty funny story. When we were in Memphis, we're talking to some people, and I said, in my hometown, we toss tuna, and that took some explaining. But
kind of double entendre, isn't it?
I just go back to you, Peter.
Right?
Peter, how do you handle all these old guys? I mean, they seem to be. I reckon they'd be pretty hard work, wouldn't they?
Yeah, bloody hell.
Oh no, they're a beautiful lot. I think a better question would be how they handle me.
Well, Pete's not worried
Yeah,
about
no,
being
he'll-
politically correct, so that's
All
okay.
right. Well, that's good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
none of us are. All right. Well, that's about all I've got. I'm really looking forward to the gig. Safe travels. I know we're going to party big time when you guys are hit the club. And we'll see you in what? It's not that long, is it? 3 weeks, maybe?
No,
Yeah, about that.
No.
Yeah. So
No,
This
we're
time of
looking
the
forward to it, Rob.
This time of the year, you forget what day it is. I don't know. Half the time, I don't know what, especially when you're retired. I can't,
well, ditto, yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, guys.
All right.
Oh,
All
good on
right,
you.
guys. Thanks
no,
so
it's
much.
just thanks very much, Rob. Like,
Yeah, thank you.
we are really looking forward to coming over.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.